Welcome to the Amy McManus Show. I'm here this morning with congressional candidate Janice Volk. How are you doing this morning, Janice?
Very good.
Thanks for being with me. You've had a busy and scary week. Tell us what specifically happened this past week that actually ended up having either yourself or someone with you to call the police.
We were coming back from South Ogden Street in Buffalo from the Taste of Freedom, where I was a keynote speaker. And my daughter in my fundraiser and family friend and the babies, my grandbabies, were in one vehicle, and my husband and I were in the other. And they got ahead of us and got home before we did. And there was a truck going up and down the road that was calling out racial slurs as they were unloading my grandbabies. So my daughter and her friend and our family friend followed them, and they ended up at the Indian reservation, and they got the license plate number and had some witnesses there to what was going on. And then my daughter was afraid to come back to the house when she saw that we weren't immediately right behind her. And this is where the guy in the truck started following her on side streets. So by the time we pulled up, and by the time she finally got to the house, the man was in our driveway. And then he started spinning out, throwing rocks and this, that, and the other with the tires. And when he took off, I was like, well, what's that all about? And my grandbabies came out, and Isaiah says, Grandma, what's the matter? And that's when I started demanding what the heck happened. Mm-hmm. And my daughter told me, and I said, that's it. They're starting to bring it to the house now and bring it to my home, our safe haven. And we went down to the police station and made a report. And this was, it was just one more incident. The others had involved me or grown-ups that could have, made a choice of how they were going to deal with this. But now we'll deal with it in the legal system.
Mm-hmm. What's the status of that specific report as far as with the police? Has there been any callbacks on what they're doing, or?
Well, they've been very gracious because of Governor Patterson's segue into trying to run the state. We are on limited capacity for our police officers in Cuba, and so they're doing their best on a part-time status, and they're watching the house and whatnot. And we did have an incident where a guy had parked himself standing between the garage and a tree out back.
Just standing there?
Just standing there watching the back of the house, which is where the bedrooms are. Mm-hmm. And he was asked to leave. But they're doing their best. I don't think the report on the gentleman where we got the license plate number, they know who he is. They ran the plate. They know where he's from. I haven't been updated as to whether they've spoken to him or not, but they are just as mortified as I am about the whole incident.
And they won't share with you who he is, at least not yet, obviously.
They've shared that information.
Oh, they have. So you know who this person is. Do you know this person personally?
No, I don't.
Okay. I would imagine if things continue, he could get charged with harassment or trespassing. Am I correct?
Or stalking.
Stalking,
yeah,
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, it would have to go before the judge and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully, he just had a lapse in good judgment.
Right. So. Right. Joe, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
I just wanted to clarify Janice's previous manager, who's still in touch with her. What was her name again, Janice?
It's Terry.
Terry. Joe was introduced as the current campaign manager. He is officially the communications director, and he has graciously taken over some of the duties of Terry, who had to move. She moved away, correct?
He did.
Okay. Hey, Joe. You're a young guy, at least compared to myself. When you see things like this, especially your generation, which maybe doesn't have as much of a memory or a visceral reaction from memory that maybe us older folks do about racism when you see it. Have you been shocked by what you've seen and heard accompanying Janice on the campaign?
Oh, absolutely. I guess you could say I've been naive about it. I was naive. I mean, I was brought up in a household that racism was never an issue. I I accept everyone for who they are, for how they treat me and how they act. And I mean, there's like the Chemung County Fair and the Cattaraugus County Fairground. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And I was like really upset and appalled. And to see Janice kind of just move on with it and still treat that person with respect, I give her all the credit in the world, because if it was me, I'd be flipping out. But I just can't believe that people act like this still. I mean, it's 2010 now. I mean, let's get a grip and get over it. It's ridiculous.
Well, the 29th District is known for being just down-to-earth, hard-working, decent, kind people. And I guess we forget that not everyone is decent and kind.
Yeah, I live in Hornell. I've never dealt with that ever, and I mean, it's just very disturbing. And hopefully, people can move on and grow up. I mean, it's ignorance. It's ignorance. Well, it's disgraceful. Well,
I guess it's one thing to have, like you said, Janice, one adult just speaking nastily to another adult and obviously making racist comments in a public place. But it's quite another to have someone literally stalk you either by walking or driving and trespassing on your property. I was debating someone on Facebook today actually about Saul Alinsky's tactics, about how when there's conflict between two ideologies, that it brings out the worst. It brings out the extremes on both ends. And then the politicians themselves will use those extremists to their own end, such as people accusing you of perhaps not telling the truth or using race. And I had asked you earlier, you've been here for 20 years, 15 years in this area, 15 years in this area, and you've seen a little bit of stereotyping going on and occasional racism. But it's interesting that only when you become involved in politics do you see this, in your face hatred.
Absolutely. I wish someone had told me.
Right. Oh, there's racists around here.
But as we went to the Chemung County Fair and as we had gone to the sportsman event at the Cattaraugus County Fair, I ran into so many wonderful people, open-minded people. And it just warrants that I just keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, I ran into a few walls where I had to, think and recommit myself. But
I think sometimes you just can't even bother with these people.
Yeah, right.
You just giving them any sort of platform to utter a word is just not worth anyone's time, I think. So as Joe said, you've handled it with grace and just walked away. Your husband had said he's not sure he would be so graceful in similar circumstances.